One of the best ways to make money online as a 3D artist is through digital products. And the cool thing is, as 3D artists, we naturally have a ton of digital assets, from materials to models to geometry nodes and entire scenes. Kitbash really lends itself to digital products that we can sell. So in this video, I'm going to do the entire process from start to finish. Research, creation, publishing, and marketing an entire Kitbash product and show you my entire process that I would do in order to make this successful. And I'm going to be using my new Ori kit for the Scale Art Show as an example. Before you even open Blender, research matters. Even a few searches can actually save you a ton of hours. For example, when I was looking for other models for my Ori kit that I'm going to sell, I saw that there were in fact other Oris, but nothing was really modular. Nothing was really meant for animation or close-ups or anything that was actually kit related. And so I knew that I had a gap to fill. And honestly, that leads to one of the biggest misconceptions I hear from artists constantly. Isn't the market already saturated with the models that I want to sell? And here's what I'm going to tell you. A better product will always beat volume. If it's marketed correctly and a good product, it will always beat the volume that's already there. Because people don't stop buying something because it already exists. They stop buying it when it stops being valuable or relevant to the work that they're creating. And so if you factor that into what you're making, it's the whole world's difference. And we'll talk about this a little later, but if you make the use cases easily identifiable by showing how flexible and modular and cinematic your work can actually be when buying your product, it's so much easier to buy. Now, after research comes creation. And honestly, this part depends entirely on your own workflow. And again, for me, I built this Ori over a couple of weeks, but honestly, you don't have to model everything by hand. You could do certain things in geometry nodes, or there could be entirely different setups for your specific use case. The important thing that I want to highlight is momentum. Because if you spend the entire time trying to perfect it, you'll never actually sell it. And I think a lot of artists underestimate this part too. It's not just the asset that you're selling, it's the usability of that asset and the relevancy. So when I was building Ori, I focused on three main things: ease of use, modularity, and value. Ease of use means naming things correctly, having things organized in different collections, but personally, when I specifically buy something, and I do buy quite a few things, I tear into it and I try to just very quickly get as much value out of it as I can. And that's why you want to focus on modularity, because you will have people like me who just want to get in, get the thing that they need, and get out. So for my Ori, I didn't just slap in a whole giant piece. I actually had individual models set out so that their Kitbash, when they bought it, actually had the pieces there for them to see, and they didn't have to go digging around to find it. And finally, value. And this is the part that a lot of artists massively underrate, because it's not just about how many models you have in the product that you're selling. It's about how reusable the assets are, how many use cases they have, and the overall creative potential that it unlocks as easily as possible. And this is exactly why I started adding motion capture elements into the Ori itself, because now it's not just a Kitbash model, it's animation ready, it's modular, it's cinematic, and it's usable across different workflows if somebody needed that. This is the publishing phase, and honestly, it's where a lot of good products die, because people spend weeks making the asset and then 5 minutes creating the store page. So for this, I need a few things before uploading. Just a clear product title, thumbnail images, description, and some file organization. And this is pretty straightforward. But think about it from your customer's perspective. They haven't spent 20 hours building this thing with you. They'll see one single thumbnail and make the decision on whether or not to even click on it. So whether you're using Gumroad, StanStore, ArtStation, CG Trader, the goal is definitely the same. Reduce uncertainty and show people exactly what they're getting and how it works, and of course, why it's useful. So again, for the Ori kit, that meant showing close-up renders, different camera angles, and examples of how it could be used in animations and motion design projects. A good product page is really a sales pitch in visual form. The asset does the work, but the page explains the entire value. So once everything is uploaded, organized, and tested, the product is finally ready for the next phase, getting it in front of people. So I've made entire videos about marketing here, but honestly, it comes down to three big things: smart animation, social trends, and being able to capture emails to follow up with people in a smart marketing funnel. So what do I mean when I say smart animation, right? What does that mean? I mean creating actual use cases that aren't just beauty renders, right? For example, Alpamero created this really interesting watch commercial that was based on the horse in motion photography concept to help sell watches in his CG film. That animation wasn't just visually cool, it also demonstrated the product in a really, really unique way. So I wanted to do something really similar. I used Rokoko to create an Atlas, who is the famous Greek figure who holds planets on his back. And honestly, that process was really, really simple, because all I did was jump into the suit, put on the gloves, record the performance, and then I had this beautiful motion capture experience that was ready to launch. But the really, really cool part here is that once you have those animations, you also have good content that acts as behind the scenes, which is blowing up in our community right now. For instance, projection mapping artists are blowing up because they're showing how they're working on the computer and then having the process actually going on behind them. And it's gaining millions upon millions of views for just this really, really simple but viral concept. And we can do the same thing with motion capture, because as you'll see, you can get that really nice looking immediate real-time response by using the smart gloves. I'm also using this really interesting match cut transition, which has been popular recently, and it lends itself well to our campaign specifically because it shows all the different variations of the different planets that the Ori can have inside of the kit. So now the marketing itself becomes a part of the creative process, and that's beautiful how it all lines up perfectly like that. And that's really the way to think about these types of projects. And finally, email funnels. One of the smartest things you can do is give away part of your product for free in order to gather emails to then follow up with people later on. And one of the ways to do that is by giving up one of the more juicy or the better, more valuable part of your product. For me, I'm giving away the motion capture spinning carousel because I think that people would be really fascinated in seeing how it works on the inside. And again, because when somebody downloads something from you, you can continue the conversation. You can follow up, you can show updates, you can do all sorts of things. And a lot of artists try to veer away from this, but this is honestly very simple business 101 that happens all the time. And your friends or your potential customers aren't going to dislike you for doing it. So it's something to keep in mind. You are not being pushy by being an artist, you're being business savvy. And honestly, this whole idea goes way beyond individual art products, because I'm specifically running an art show called Scale. So I've commissioned 5 artists to give me different animations based around the idea of scale and how they interpret it. But here's the really, really interesting part of that concept. We're packaging all of the assets created for the animations into one asset file that we're selling all together and splitting the profits equally back amongst us. So suddenly, instead of doing this alone and doing all the marketing and research and everything else, we're collaborating. We're sharing the audiences, we're sharing the workload, we're sharing the marketing, and just massively increasing the final value of the pack by putting everything together and selling it as a whole. And I've said this before, I really think collaboration is one of the most underrated aspects of being an artist right now, especially online. Collaboration creates value, not just creatively, but commercially too. It's huge. It's huge, guys. So here's the final takeaway. This is the big thing I want you to come away with this video. Action steps. Go do this. Like, please. This is the big stuff right here. Great products are rarely just models. They're experiences, workflows, systems, and they solve problems that we all have. So make it unique, market it intentionally, and pack as much value as you can into it, and you'll have a fantastic product that will sell very well. Honestly, there's a story I told just the other day, and it happened right here on YouTube, and that's when Chex, the artist, the Blender artist, made a tutorial on his roses. It's just a blooming flower animation. You probably have seen it. I think his video has something like a couple 100,000 views. He did something very similar here where he gave away free petals to his blooming flowers. Now, the really interesting thing is, of course, Blender Market shows the sales. And as of today, he has $62,000 in sales over the last 3 years. The really fascinating thing about this is that he posted his flowers on Blender Market, but only through his 2 YouTube videos about how he made the product itself. And he shared the entire workflow with everybody. And ironically, even though he shared how to make it, people still purchased the entire pack itself because it solved a problem for them. Because honestly, a lot of artists these days spend their time learning how to create instead of how to actually present the work that they create. And the artists who manage to do both of those things successfully have the commercial potential to build a sustainable career and do this full time. Thank you guys so much for watching. The links to the scale art show along with the kit and everything else are in the description down below, and I will see you next week.